Hey guys, how's it going? So what am I working on today here? So what I got today on my Monte Carlo, this is my 305 small block here. I got this code 53, which is EGR control error. Now on my scan tool, it says EGR failure. We'll take a look at that here in a second. But I tell you what my symptoms were before I knew this was real. It wasn't just a fluke. It was three major symptoms that I had. And so this might help some people out with G-bodies or any other car that's similar to this with an older type of engine and this type of EGR type system here. The first thing was that when I was driving, I felt I would say it's subtle, but it was a little tremble in the steering wheel. I said, when I very first felt it, I thought it might have just been the road. But then I drove on and it persistently happened for a couple miles. And then the check engine light came on. I did not check the check engine light, and the reason being at that time is because, well, sometimes it's very rarely, and it's because my carburetor ain't tuned 100% like it should be, which I get that in another video, but it'll say, it'll throw a rich code, say oxygen sensor, rich, for example. And then you go stop the car, get out, go in the store, do what you're gonna do, come back out, engine light never comes back on, and that's it. So I went to the store just like I always do. In fact, I went and got some keys made for this car, which was pretty cool. Went to an OG locksmith and got that done. But I get back in the car, everything starts the car up, everything feels normal. I'm going down the road, and probably I'd say about a mile after driving, I got back on the highway, felt the same trembling again, and then I noticed that the oil pressure was a little bit lower than normal, all right? And I also noticed that my battery voltage was only charging at around 13. So then I plugged in my scan tool while I was driving and saw that my knock sensor had detected over 100 knocks, which has never happened in this car, okay? So normally I think when you first cut this car on, there's gonna be like just some artificial knock, and your knock sensor is only gonna go up to about 12 or 13 or 14, and that's it, and it'll never change. And I've ridden around with the scan tool many, many times, monitoring knock and other things, and it never changes. But I actively saw knock changing in this car as I was driving it. And so when I got off the highway, I came up to a stop sign. And when I came to a stop, my oil pressure went down very low. It didn't go like in the red zone, but it went way lower than normal than it should be. So that's another symptom. The oil pressure went low. And then I drove to the next stop sign, and my car cut off at the stop sign. Cut the car back on, and that might have something to do with oil pressure or maybe overheating in the engine because of all the faultiness in the EGR valve. So those are the three symptoms that I seen. Just to recap really quickly, was that, again, I felt a little tremble in the steering wheel. That probably come from the engine, retarding the firing for the knock it was sensing. Lower oil pressure, especially when you come at an idle, like at a stop sign. And the charging system was on the lower side. It was around 13-ish, 12.9-ish, when it should have been obviously around greater than 13.5 or between 13.5 and 14.3 or whatever. So I came home, I took the EGR valve out, I cleaned the passages out, checked the voltages on my EGR solenoid. Also, I put current through the EGR solenoid and it clicked. Don't mean that everything is working properly, but at least I did see the voltage I should, and at least the solenoid did click. Put everything back together, drove it again, and then this time I still got some knock, but the knock sensor was only like at 40. I think I drove it for like quite a while. So cleaning the passages did help, and I'll tell you why right now, because I drove it for a while. I drove it back the same drive I took because I want to see what would happen. Didn't really get any knock on the way to the same store. Just made a U-turn out of the store, came back, and on the way back, I started getting some knock in the engine that only went up till about maybe 30 something. And then I saw it, then what I did was I started patting the gas a little bit while I was driving, just kind of hitting it a little bit. And then I saw the knock jump up by one or two. Stopped at the stop sign, I felt a little, oh, and that's technically a sensor. When you come up to a stop sign and go ready to take off, this also happened on the first trip as well. You'll feel a little hesitation. So that's actually 4 symptoms. You feel that hesitation as well. So I felt a little hesitation, so I kind of hit the gas, not too crazy hard, but I just hit it. And I saw the knock sensor bump up 1 or 2 knocks. So by the time I got home, I was at like 48 knocks, which is abnormal for this car. I'm telling you, like this car, usually when you first cut it on, the knock might show 10 knocks, 12 knocks. And I believe those are artificial just from cutting the engine on, and that's it. You don't hear anything, nothing else happens. And I've ridden around many a time with the scan tool, not seen that. I've never seen that knock sensor actively move until yesterday. All right, so I'll cut the scan tool on here in a minute. Nice scan tool. This is the Easy Scan 6000. Actually, the cord reaches all the way out from the port that's inside of the car out here. But anyway, let's go ahead and look in the service manual here. So I want to show people this. So what do we got going on here? This right here is a vacuum sensor here. This is the solenoid here. And basically what's happening here is that you got, well, my car's always hot. Here's just saying when you turn the ignition on, it's going to supply the 12 volts. But technically, it might depend on the VIN number. But on my car, it's always hot. But the control signal coming from the PCM does not kick in until you actually turn the car, the engine is running. Even if you turn the switch on, it doesn't it doesn't show the ground here. So I got ground and I got this, and obviously it's by default is the EGR valve is closed. That's going to be important here to my first test what I'm going to do here. And once the car gets to moving, the EGR duty cycle will change, and then that'll start opening up, start sending, I think start reducing the voltage here to bring down this voltage, and then it'll open up more of this to let the vacuum through to then in turn pull the EGR valve to let the exhaust back into the chamber, but for cooler burning or what have you. That's sort of just a very general theory operate. I'm sure that ain't complete, and I'm not trying to be an expert here on it, but that's just a general theory of what we got working here. So basically, we don't probably have to worry too much about the vacuum signal because the reason why I say that because I was getting real knock. This wasn't like the car just detected a bad vacuum signal, but there was no knocking. I was genuinely getting knocked because the knock, but don't forget, this is just a sensor here. This right here is actually what opens the thing open and close here, this actual solenoid. So again, not saying it's not the problem, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So here they talks about a lot of different things, but one thing you want to notice here is that if you look here, it says EGR solenoid is always energized, and energized means off when any of the following conditions are met, which is in park and neutral, throttle position greater than specified, and cooling temperature is less than specified. So what we're going to do, the first test we're going to do is that we're going to verify that the EGR valve, the diaphragm is actually moving. And we're also going to check, it's going to do 2 tests in one. You're going to check to see if the passages are blocked or very restricted. And how we're going to do that is that we're going to connect the vacuum straight to the EGR valve, and then we're going to pull a vacuum on it while the car is running, and you should see an RPM change. I mean, there's more sophisticated ways to do this. So for example, we go over here to this side, it sort of gives a flow diagram how to test. So I'm going to just go real slow through this. So in case there's somebody want to follow this flow chart here, this here is a good resource here. I'm basically going to do some of these tests, but just not in the order that the flow chart suggests, which is I'm just going to start out because I think it's mechanical. I don't think it's electrical, but I don't know that yet. So I'm going to just start with the easiest thing to check. And now as a bonus, let me show you what else I'm going to show you in this video. You see this EGR valve is right next to this, right next to the carburetor. The one bolt right, I don't know, I can't, let me get my flashlight here. Maybe I can show you this better with this. The one bolt that's just right there, you see it? Everybody got a problem getting that bolt out. And for good reason, because you don't want to take this carburetor off unless you want to, because again, you got to disconnect the fuel lines here. And that's the biggest thing, because if that thing is seized, you might break it, like I almost did right here. You see that little bend right there in it. But you can get that bolt out, and as I take it out, I'm not going to probably be able to get the shot to show you what I'm doing, but I'll explain to you how to get that bolt out. So that's going to be the bonus in this video. So I must timestamp that, because I've seen many people comment on that throughout me surfing YouTube. And that's an important thing to know, that you actually can get that EGR valve off without taking off this carburetor here. All right, so with that said, let me go cut the car real quick, and I'm not gonna turn the engine on yet. I'm just gonna cut the scan tool on, and we're just gonna walk through the scan tool just really quickly to show you what we're gonna be paying attention to. All right, guys, we're back, and you can hear that mixture solenoid is going here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this on here. And I always do scan first. Here, just hit the scan button here. So when I hit the scan, you'll notice. Then I hit enter. You hear that speed up, and it is for some reason when you connect the scan tool to this, it turns up the RPM, and I'm assuming because it affects that mixture control solenoid there. All right, so now we're gonna go to data here, and then we go down to trouble code and hit enter. You'll see we got that code 53 here in this model. They just call it, because this is a G, they just call it EGR failure. In some other VIN numbers, they call it something else. Like, for example, here in VIN H, it calls it EGR control error, or this VIN 6, it called it, the same thing. But here it just says EGR failure. So, but it is all the same code. It means all the same thing, and would need all the same tests. Just some cars might be slightly different. Again, like one of their biggest examples, some people cars may not see any voltage until they hit the ignition, but in my case, the pink and black wire here is always hot. All right, so now let's go back into data again, and this time we're gonna go data again. We go to operational data, and you hear it automatically again, it interacts with this mixture control solenoid somehow. So we go down, we got lots of data here, but let's go down to, we got knock sensor here. Again, it's on 0 because obviously not moving. Let's see here. Throttle sensor, that's about right. I think the specification is like 0.61 volts, so that's what's in spec. And mixture control is at 50%. I'm assuming at default it's at 50%. But the EGR duty cycle is something we want to pay attention to. So when you first cut the car on, that should, I think, if I ain't mistaken, well, if it's energized, it's supposed to be at 0. So I guess when you first cut it on, it should be working because it's energized. And so we're just gonna see. I don't know what it should be because I've never done this test before here. So I'm gonna see what that right there does. But what we're gonna do again, fire the car up. We're gonna take this hose right here off. We're gonna put a vacuum on that. And we're gonna actually actuate the diaphragm, or see, can we actuate the diaphragm, and go from there with it. So let me get that set up and I'll be right back. One more quick thing I forgot to show you, just so for people's G-body knowledge, they'll know that this, if you see this little bracket right here, this metal bracket, this controls all of the EGR control, if you will. This here is the vacuum sensor here. That's the EGR solenoid here, and those are the vacuum lines feeding out to the EGR valve and coming up to the actual manifold here through the carburetor itself. So that's that. I'll be right back in a second. All right, so I got the engine on now. The engine's running perfectly fine. That's probably because even if the EGR valve should not be working, so by me just unplugging it, that shouldn't be any issue. And also, let's go into the data real quick. We'll check the operational data here. Let me show you that. See right here, what I was saying, like right at the beginning, it'll always be a little bit of knock, and that's it. And that's just because it's artificial from the engine waking up, and then if you ride around with the scan tool, that number will never change. So I know that this knock is for real. So let's take a look at the duty cycle, 37%, so it's energized at this point, so it's supposed to be closed. All right. So let me go calm the idle down a little bit. I'm gonna just go hit the gas real quick. but calm down by itself. Just let me. All right, so now we got that going. So what we want to do now, all we want to do is just see if we open that valve up or the diaphragm, would the RPM change? That's all we want to know. Now, if there's no change, that means that these ports are clogged. Let's put this up here. Got it set to vacuum. Let's see what happens here. Look at that. I'm not even sure if the thing can even hold a vacuum. Look at that. It's not even holding a vacuum. Let me bring this over here. Look at that. I'm pumping it. And look at that. It's not even holding a vacuum here. See that? So it might just be this EGR valve is just faulty, and that's just it. So let me go ahead and show you guys something real quick first. And that is, I ain't affiliated with AutoZone, but shout out to them. I ordered this part last night at 8 o'clock, and I got it just a little while ago. See right now, it's 11:52. I got this part here at exactly 11 o'clock today. So when you ever see that next day delivery on those websites, they usually work, because I've done O'Reilly like that and got it right next day. So that was quick. So EGR duty cycle still energized because it's in part. And let's go back up to the knock sensor here again, because it's idling. And again, it's not at operating temperature either. So all we wanted to do was to see, could we see a difference there? So let me go ahead and stop this part of the video. We're gonna pull the other one out of the box and run a test on to see if it's a hold a vacuum. All right, so to recap, what just happened is that because when we put this up, this vacuum up there and pull this vacuum, let me double check something here. Yeah, it's not holding a vacuum at all. Hold up, now it's holding a vacuum. Wait a minute. Let me see what's going on here. That was funny because I just did it and it didn't hold a vacuum. Let me try that again before I get too far ahead of myself, because it may not be nothing wrong with this. Hold up. All right, let's do that again. All right, so with the car running, that's interesting. So with the car running, okay, so I got to understand this system a little bit more. So with the car running, it will not hold a vacuum. But now, let me go cut the car off right quick. Whoop, don't want to drop that. That thing is terribly expensive. Let me cut the car. So when the car's running, so should that happen? Because right now, the thing should be sealed closed, right? When they say the car is running and when it's in park. So if it's not being supplied anything, I'm just trying to run through logic here to see if I make any sense here, or trying to make sense of this. When the car's running, see now it's not holding it, well, it's holding a little vacuum. It's holding a vacuum right now. Yeah, see if you look right here, I don't know how well you can see that because I'm gonna stand on this side. That's crazy. Okay, well anyway, when I moved it, it moved this cord here. Let me just do that one more time. Just one more time. Because I gotta verify, I gotta make sure I'm holding this thing all, this hose, because this hose is not 100% tight. But it's good enough though, because I mean, I pulled vacuum with it many a times. Let's do that one more time. All right, so if I held it up there really tight like this. Nah, not holding a vacuum at all. I don't know if you can see that. You know the exact same thing I just did. Yeah, no vacuum. All right, so let me cut it off and then pull the vacuum again. Because all I'm doing now is just collecting data so I'll know. So the data I'm collecting is saying that, okay, is that when the car is off, for whatever reason, maybe there's some internal pressure that's pushing the valve open, I guess, because it would have to push up on it. See, because now, when I do a vacuum, it doesn't start off wanting to do a vacuum. but it ended up doing, let me see here. Yeah, it's holding a vacuum now, you see? I don't know if you probably you can see that, but yeah, it's holding a vacuum now. All right, so that's interesting. So what is happening here? So now let's take a look at this here. So the only way to see what will happen, let me make sure that there's okay, I was just making sure that the thing was actually hooked. All right, so now this is the Duralast. Okay, that's actually, let me see if I can show you that. That's actually drawing a vacuum right there, and that's holding that vacuum. Well, it's leaving it, but that's making me wonder now what's happening here. Because why is that not holding a vacuum here? I mean, it's pulling a vacuum, but it's not holding it. Yeah. It's pulling a vacuum, but it's not holding it. That is strange. All right. So but no matter what, I'm trying to figure out, okay, so all right, so next thing we want to do is figure out how to get this to activate so we can see if we see the RPM drop. So let me read the book a little bit more, and we're going to figure out how to do that, because again, could it be the EGR valve faulty? I mean, it won't take much just to switch it out and see, but I'm afraid if I switch it out, the only thing it's going to do, you're still going to not be able to pull the vacuum on this one for whatever reason, but I'd have to drive it. And then, but I'm trying to diagnose it right here in the spot. So let me read this a little bit further here, my service manual here, and move on to a little bit of electrical diagnosis and figure out, is it worth disconnecting the electronic spark timer and then grounding that control wire? So let's just take a look at that. Let me take a look at it, and I'll be right back in a second. All right, so what I decided to do, the first thing I decided to do is I'm gonna go ahead and take off this EGR valve. I want to compare both of these side by side first with the vacuum, because it may just be that this one right here has a lower vacuum pressure actuation than that one, and it may even work better. I'm not entirely for sure. So that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm just compare these parts side by side, and then I will figure out which one I will go back with, and then from there I'll more look at electrical diagnosis. But this is a part of the video, I'm not gonna be able to capture this shot of how to get that one bolt out that I told you about earlier back there, right? But take a look, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you're gonna have to do. So first of all, you're gonna need a 3/8 inch. Now this is just a regular one now. If you got a thin one, this will make it even work even better. Box open end. You're gonna need to use both of these ends, but there may be other ways to do this, but this is just the way I'm gonna do it. All right, so first of all, you're gonna use the box end to break it. And the reason why you wanna use the box end is obvious, because it has more angles that it can get in there depending on where you can get in. Because this right here only got sort of just one angle, with kind of to this way or this way. And you're kind of limited by just having sort of like this fixed teeth here. I don't know how to express this, but you get what I'm saying. You got more refinement on this end trying to get it up. So once you get this up here, the box end, let me go around this side here. Once you get the box end up there, you're gonna break it and try to turn it as much as possible. What's gonna happen if you turn it too much with the box end, the bolt will lift up because it's flanged, and it'll push this box end up and you can't get it out. So what you're gonna want to do is get it as far as up you can with this. And now the next step might be optional for you. And I'll tell you what it is. You want to use the open end, but you want to take the end, you want to take one side seems a little bit less bulky than the other, this bottom side here. You're gonna try to want to use that end as much as you can, because this side right here is a little bit too bulky to get behind the bolt on that side to really turn it. However, you may get lucky depending on your car. And I'm gonna tell you the luck, because the part I'm about to show you is what you're gonna have to do anyway, so you can try it now if you want. You're gonna have to put, sorry about that, one hand, it'd be better, I'm just trying to get a good angle here, but anyway, you're gonna have to take one hand and go behind here, and you're gonna take your middle finger, or whichever finger you're most comfortable with, you're gonna put it on this side of the bolt, and then you're gonna take your other hand and put it up under here, and basically you're gonna be turning the bolt with your two middle fingers like this. Like, you're gonna be turning your two bolts with the middle finger, I know you like this. And it's gonna be a little tedious, but you can get it out, and I'm about to show you right now how to do it. And I would also recommend probably using some nitrile dip glove, just because it can give you some torque on the bolts. But you can do it. And also, one last thing is that you want to use a standard size 3/8. This is just a good old cheapo from Walmart, works just fine. Because if it's too long, what will happen is that you won't be able to get up on there because it'll hit this valve cover. And you really won't be able to get a flex head under there, like a normal flex head, maybe Snap-on or some company that makes specialty versions of normal tools that cost a lot of money. You might can get up under there with something like that if they have it available, but otherwise, this way here works. So you want to go ahead and just go ahead and, well, remove all the vacuum lines out of the way, because you don't want to break, well, if you break them, you can replace them, but just something, you don't want to break something you don't have to. So let me go ahead and disconnect all these vacuum lines from the solenoid and everything, and just move this out of the way. So just be one thing out of the way. Everything you can move out of your way. You can unplug the wire that connects to the choke heater. Just go ahead and just move everything you can out of your way, and make it just everything, anything you can do to make this easier is always a welcome idea. So, all right, you're gonna put it up where you got you're gonna have the angle up. You see how this is? Just imagine the box end. It's gonna be flat here. And again, I know most people know how to use wrenches, but I'm trying to show you that you can do this. All right, so it's up there. All right, and then there you go. We got our first crack. And then a little tedious here. And you might need to take your finger right here and kind of help hold the wrench and guide it a little bit. And if you get too high with the box side, you can always just roll it back and get your box side out. All right, so, all right, I'm getting there. Look, already. Look at that, I got several turns on it already. Let's see, I'm gonna get it up high as I can. I think that's about high as I can get it right there. Let me try this way first. See, can I get lucky here? I don't think I can get lucky here, because mine is a little, I wouldn't say rusty, but because it's an older engine. But anyway, now you go in with the open side, and don't forget, put that meteor side that way. You might be able to, once it lift up a little bit, maybe get the other side in there, but I can't really remember. But anyway, it's gonna be a little while, but just remember, you can do it. And keep, like right there, just got a little turn right here. See right here and there. And you may have to, oh, one quick thing, you may have to, let me show you this bolt here. Even though this bolt here ain't the right size, but you'll get the point. You may have to angle it a little bit like this. Instead of how you would come flush like this, you may have to angle it and just spin it, because don't forget it's already loose, so you're not gonna strip it. So, all right, so now turn it, and let's see, let me try with my hands now. There we go. Got on with my hands just like that. I think it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. All right. Oh yeah, it's coming. Just a look at that. See, that's how you flat rate them right there. Let me finish getting this off here. Because if you got to take that car, let me stop my back here for a second. It is a little tedious bending over here, but you don't want to have to take that carburetor off unless you got to. I mean, it really wouldn't bother me to take it off because I just removed mine, but if you had a carburetor been in place for a while, you could accidentally break that fuel line right there. It ain't the end of the world, but it's just something else to deal with. You know how it is. You can take a good old-fashioned easy job and turn it into a nightmare. Just that easy. Yeah, it's covered. Just taking a little while. Since I think I'm turning, I think it's some kind of way hidden. Let me turn it a little bit with this again, because Sometimes, yeah, I think that's it. I just need to turn it just a little bit because don't forget, you ain't got a lot of room. There we go. Let's see. And again, this is a very tedious few minutes, but you can do it. Trust me. I think that's it right there. Yep, that's it. Look at that. Look at that. Check that out. Got him. All right, let me get me a little magnetic pan. And once you do that, go ahead and put in your effort. You can go on the other side, and the bolt is right out. You still got to have a wrench. You cannot get a ratchet and get that other side, but you can just take your wrench, go ahead and crack them. You might could do this side here with a ratcheted wrench, but it's only just a few turns you got to do with your hand, and you can usually get the rest of it. Yeah, just by twisting it out just like that. Look at that coming right out. All right, there it is. Woo! That's always a very unenjoyable few minutes that I hate to spend doing that. All right, so there it is. Pops right out. She is a little bit dirty. I see something wet up here. Not sure what that is. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's... See what that is there. Probably from yesterday. Let's see. Make sure it's not wet down there. No. Oh, there's something wet right there. Don't know what that is. Maybe from when the... Well, it could be from yesterday because, in all honesty, I did spray this out with a carb cleaner yesterday, so it's probably what it is. Probably not special. All right. So what we want to do now is that I want to connect the vacuum to this guy, and I just want to see what happens off the car here with this. This is what I want to see here. Let's see here. So this one right here holds a vacuum off the car, you see? This one is holding a vacuum. So maybe there's nothing wrong with the EGR valve. Could be those passages in there, but why, when I have it on the car, when I pull a vacuum? So what I'm thinking is that when it's on the car, maybe there's enough back pressure in this. Let me see, where's my flashlight at? Maybe there's some back pressure on this here enough to push that little piston in right here. So what happened, what the whole goal, what I'm trying to do, let me put this back up here and I'll show you what I'm trying to do here. If I can hold this. I'm gonna put a flashlight in my mouth and you're gonna see this move. You see how that is in there? How it's all the way back up in that recess, but now let me let the vacuum loose. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to do, is open that up on the car. So this does something that the new part does not. So what I'm gonna do is I need to run in the house and eat real quick. I'm gonna get back to this here in a few minutes. This is so far been quite interesting to me here. So to try to figure this out, what's happening here. But anyway, let me go eat and we'll get right back on it here in a few minutes. All right, guys, there was one thing I forgot to test while it was off and I was reading. So it says right here in the first EGR system operation check. If you look at this last bullet point, it said with the engine idling, RPM should drop as EGR valve is open by pushing up on the underside of the diaphragm. So the service manual doesn't even recommend putting a vacuum to it. So it may be that you can't get a vacuum on it while it's on the car and it's running, but you need to manually push it up under the bottom. Now, one thing I've noticed between the difference of the AC Delco unit, which is here, is that you actually can get your hand in there and push it up and down like so. But under the one that Duralast sells, they've seemingly don't have that diagnostic feature, so to speak, because you can get in there with something to push it, but you probably run a risk of damaging that diaphragm. So let me put that back up there real quick, and we're going to try that out. Now, one thing I will say is that you're doing it in reverse order. One other tip with putting the EGR valve back is when you put it back, put the bolt that's closest to the firewall back in first, but don't tighten it all the way. Just put it tight enough so that the EGR valve will not rock. And because this goes into the hole, and that bolt is sort of going to line it up where it needs to go. So when you're going to take and then go reverse order, put the bolt back in there with your 2 middle fingers, and then kind of twist them down as far as you can get it, and then use the wrench to finish it off. So let me go ahead and do that real quick, and we'll be right back. Oh, one other quick note on doing this in reverse order. This is important. Once you get the bolt that's near the carburetor down as far as it'll go by hand, go back on the other side to the one near the firewall and go ahead and tighten it down as tight as it can get it. Because what it'll do is it'll go ahead and push it down just a little bit further, and that'll be just enough to help you bring it home. So let me finish this up real quick. All right, I got everything back installed here. Let me actually, you know, one thing I didn't do a while ago? Let me connect this right here back to the actual, to shut off this vacuum. Technically, that's a vacuum leak. I don't think it'll really interfere with our testing here. But let me install that vacuum line back to the solenoid there. So at least the part that's going to the actual carburetor is not technically being a vacuum leak. All right, so now, again, let me go ahead and cut the car on. May have to pump the gas once since it's been off for a while. But now we're just going to manually activate the diaphragm and see, do we see an RPM change? And that's the idea, is that we want to see that happen. Had to check something real quick, see what happens if I hit it. Okay, fired right up. All right, so here we go. See what happens? Oh yeah, cut it right off. Yeah. So that means that it's something else then. Let me do that one more time to verify that that's what happened. Let me cut it off, then cut it back on. Yeah, smoked a little bit. So I ain't gonna push it too hard. I'm gonna just push it a little bit just to see will it drop a bit. I went extreme when I hit it. Let's do it again. Okay, yeah. All right, so what did we just learn? That the diaphragm seemingly is working properly, and that the passages are not clogged. Now, I will say this, that the actual solenoid could potentially be bad. So instead of, before I dive into some electrical testing, I'm just going to switch some things out, because what happened was I bought another solenoid for this car and I put it up there. Maybe there's been some sort of small problem with the car, I just never noticed. But I never really had any problem with it. So let me put the old solenoid back up there and just see what happens. And then from there, we'll do a little bit more electrical diagnosis. So let me do that real quick. Okay, so right now, the next logical step is actually to do what it says right here in the book. And that is, if you go to this part here, it says if the RPM drops, which it did, connect vacuum gauge in place of EGR valve diaphragm. So I'm assuming that means pull the vacuum plug away from the solenoid and replace that with the vacuum line. So that's what I did with the manual transmission. Says no, we're not in manual transmission. Never mind. Sorry, I'm in the wrong one. Sorry. Auto transmission. We in park or neutral, and that's for sure. We don't have a manual transmission, so we don't have to do any of this. This right here says ground, diag, lead, and disconnect coolant sensor. And also, but the last one, it says observe vacuum reading at 2,000 RPMs. It should be 0. From there, either it's okay or not. So let me set you guys up right here. So basically, you can see this vacuum gauge here, and where I can also see it as well. And I'm gonna cut the car on, and then I'm gonna reach across and I'm gonna manually, hit the gas under the hood. I love doing that. That's why I love old cars. That's so cool. So, all right, let's go ahead and fire this puppy up. Oh. Okay, we fired up. Let's check the vacuum temperature here. Vacuum temperature has not moved, which is probably what it should do. So now, let's hit the gas here. Let me see how many RPMs I got first. Let me turn my scan tool on here. Okay, I'm at about 725 RPMs. I think, let me see if I can set this scan tool up so I can see it. I think I can see it. Hold up, give me a second here. I might can see that from there, good enough. All right, so right now, we are at 725 RPMs. Let me hit the gas a little bit. See if I can reach over here. That's about 2,000 RPMs right there. And I didn't see, I'm assuming that what I did was right. So I said it was no pressure here. So what I'm gonna do next is, let me just pull this off and see is there any, not sure what's happening here. See something here. So, I'm not, the thing is, let me cut the car off real quick so I don't feel like I'm talking over the car here. Okay, so we disconnected the diaphragm, connected it, the vacuum line to the solenoid, which is what I'm assuming is what it means to do. Let's see, there's nothing else to, that's the only thing it could mean, because this right here only has one connection going to it. So if you disconnect this, you have to connect the solenoid there. Connect the vacuum to the solenoid here. And I know the solenoid is working. So anyway, let's see what it says here in the next logical step here. The next logical step says let me straighten my camera up here. The next logical step is that's okay, is what it says. It says now reconnect vacuum hose to EGR valve, disconnect EGR solenoid electrical connector, check EGR valve at movement at 2,000 RPMs, EGR valve should move. All right, so let's do that then. Okay, because now the more I look at this, the more I'm thinking, well, could it be a faulty knock sensor? I'm not sure, because I do have a knock sensor now, because if you got, say, a knock sensor detecting knock, it's going to keep telling the engine to retard. I do have an extra knock sensor on hand. I am not sure, but what else would it be sending this type of, hold up, you know what, I may need to repeat that test. I'm sorry, I did unplug the vacuum six. Let me repeat that test. So in fact, let me just redo that really quickly. Sorry about that. Since I did have the signal unplugged, let's verify, but still. All right, we're back on 0. This won't take but a second just to fire that up. 0 RPMs, let's fire this up and see what kind of data pids we got. Okay. We back out, we scan the data again. All right, there we go. It's about at 800 RPMs right now. All right, let me turn you back to the vacuum here again. There's the vacuum again. Let's go ahead and bump it up real quick. Back to it. Hold up for a second. Okay. I guess I was disoriented there. For some reason, I felt like I couldn't hit it. All right, so. All right, let's see. 1400, 1500. Oh, the vacuum is moving. Okay, that's 2,000 RPMs right there. The vacuum is at 15 PSI. Or 15 vacuum units. All right. Okay, so let's back off of that. All right, so we learned something. Okay, so that means that it's not okay. Okay. Here, it says, straighten you guys out here. Okay, so that right here should be 0. If that observed vacuum reading, that should be 0. And it's not. Disconnect EGR solenoid connector, install test light between terminals, observe test light with the engine running. I think I have a, let's do a test light here. I think I got a 2 amp test light, but I do got my, my power probe, which should be equivalent to that. But I do have a little, I think this is a 4 amp test light. I don't even think this thing here will, yeah, I think the power probe should do. I don't have to put this test light in there. I mean, you can, I mean, that's what the power probe is for. So we turn the car on, what'll happen is this. If we take this connector off, and I can tell you this, let me do this because I broke one of my clips the other day, so I don't want to break another one here. I can tell you this, and when you turn this on, let me put this here. You got 0 and you got nothing, okay? So you got 0 and you got nothing. That's the pink and black. Oh, I guess the pink and black does not work. I thought it was the other way around. I think I told you that, guys, there. So let's start it up real quick. All right, let's see what we got here. Pink and black is giving 14. Yeah, and that's giving 0. So that means that that's working. Let's cut it off and see what the next step is. All right, it says here, so the test light was on. It says replace EGR solenoid. So the EGR solenoid seems to be the problem here. Because, yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the old one up there, and that's what I was gonna do a while ago. So let me just put the old one up there real quick, and then I'm gonna take it for a drive on a normal route that I took the other day, and then we're gonna see if we can reproduce or not this knocking. All right, guys, so this is that bracket I was telling you about a little bit earlier here. This right here is a vacuum sensor here, if you want to call it that. And this is a per solenoid valve, all in this one bracket here. So it's just 110 millis. It's a 9/16, I believe, that holds this bracket in, and or 5/8, I can't remember which one, but this is just a 10 millimeter here. Just unscrew that and pop it off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it back on now. What I'm curious to see now, if I put this back on and if I run that same test with connecting the vacuum to this, should it go to 0 at 2,000 RPMs? That's what it said it should do. Now, I don't know what all what all should happen here, but I don't know. I feel like these older parts might be better than the newer parts. I mean, this thing here still works. I mean, I hope it does. So that's it. That's the fix. We just put it back up there. So let me go ahead and install this back in the car real quick. All right, guys. So I got the new solenoid and everything back put together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run that test again. I'll hook the vacuum line back to the old solenoid, and let's see what'll happen, because this will also let me know, because it can't, both of them can't be bad. So this will just let me know if I even done the test right. That's really what I'm trying to verify here. All right, so there's no vacuum so far. Let me get my data pids back right over here. Okay, data, operational data. Oops. We're at 900 RPMs right now. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. That's 2,000 RPMs. But it felt like that the needle was going a little more, I guess haywire, if you will. I'm not sure what this means. Let me stop the engine for a second and take a look at this. But that was 2,000 RPMs. Because here in the book, it says, if this is happening, if I'm doing this test right, it says connect the vacuum gauge in place of EGR diaphragm. I don't think they mean put the observed vacuum reading at 2,000 RPMs. It should be 0. Let me make sure there's nothing up here I'm missing here. Install tachometer with engine normal operating temperature. Check for ported vacuum source engine side of EGR solenoid. With engine at normal operating temperature, check for ported vacuum on source side of EGR solenoid. Should be 7 inches of mercury at 2,000 RPMs. If not, repair, then continue. On engine side, okay. But on the engine side, okay, so let's do that. All right, so I'm assuming that they mean, because on the engine side is the side that's going up here, like to this one here, to the carburetor. So let's take that one off, put the vacuum on that one, but now put this back on the EGR valve side. Let's see what happens. So all right, it says at 2,000 RPM. So let's do that again. Now this side, we're looking at the engine side of the, because this is the ported vacuum side here, which is right here in the service manual here. Right here on this side. And again, you see I got my scan tool set up over here, so I'm watching the RPMs there. Let me go turn the car on real quick. Let me get you guys set back up here a little bit again. Okay, there we go. All right, let me start the car up again. All right, let me get my data pid back right. All right, the setting should be at 26.3 kilopascals or 7 inches of mercury. And that's millimeters of mercury, so we can just see what it says and convert that. So at 2,000 RPM, so let's see what happens here. Okay. That's about 2,000, right, hold up, right, about right there. I'm putting it on the engine side, but I'm not sure what are they saying. So, oh, let me cut the car off again. So wait a minute. So it says put it on the engine side. With engine idling, RPM should drop. So that happened. Vacuum should be at least. Repeat above with terminal 4 connector disconnect and diode test terminal grounded. Start the engine. Do not ground test. Yeah, the first part over here even says do not even ground. At the bottom, on the later part in the book, it says to, because here it says do not ground the terminal. Here is what it said, but down here it says ground the terminal. So yeah, let me read this a little bit more and see where we're gonna go with this next. But for now, before I do anything else, I may just take it for a drive, seeing that then I put the excuse me, I put the old solenoid back in it to see what happens. Details do matter. So here's a detail that I missed, and I think I read it over here, but I'm gonna read it from here to show you what I'm saying. Checks EGR solenoid electrical control circuit. The test light should flicker faintly if the ECM harness and connectors are okay. Flicker faintly refers to slightly pulsating glow versus opposed to a bright, steady glow from a continuous ground. So what I'm saying is that we would have to probably. I wonder should the voltage be going up and down if we check it with a multimeter? Because a multimeter, because it should be equivalent to that. So what we're going to do is let me get my multimeter out and go to that electrical connector to see if you see, because that's probably why, remember a while ago, it looked like the hand was going like this with the older solenoid. So my suspicion at the moment is that the solenoid I took off was bad, because that vacuum was steady, meaning that it was in one position, but it wasn't really jumping around, at least. That's what I think. So let me get my DVOM, or not DVOM, sorry, multimeter, and see if we can get some kind of connection here. All right, so I decided to do this with the test light. I just tested it out, and so the wiring is good coming to the solenoid. So it has to be the solenoid. So maybe that newer solenoid is a problem. Because again, I'm gonna let you hear it. I can't get the shot. Let me cut the car on real quick. What you will hear is that the ground is gonna intermittently go in and go out. So when I come to the positive side, what you can't see is that the positive side is just jumping all around 14, 15, 15.5, blah, blah, blah. But when I go to the negative side, you might can hear this. You hear that? See, it was intermittent, and that's what it's supposed to be doing. So what that did was that just verified that the ECM is likely putting out the right signals to the solenoid for the duty cycle. Okay, so. And then earlier, I'd had to go back and review the footage. It looked like when I connected this vacuum gauge and turned on the engine, it seemed like it fluctuated more versus just coming down to one spot and sort of staying. I think that's what I remember. But, and don't forget, some of this diagnostic stuff here that you see here is really general, because again, I got this service manual. What you'll find out reading the service manual is that they have a lot of stuff that are overlap, but it's complete, but you kind of got to read between the lines from some time. It's right here, it says EGR error 5.0 liter for VNH, 5.7 for VN6. I have VNG. They do not have a specific VNG right here on this page. But if you go back, let me see to the beginning of this section here. Let me see if I can hurry up and do this here. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see. See right here, drivability and emissions. And it said this section applies to all, and that's what it would apply to here. So just because some of this diagnostic stuff didn't appear to work, so to speak, it was just that it might be specifically to one of these VINs, but this is just more general. So you still can use some of these checks on the G-bot, on the, the VIN G cards. So as of right now, I'm gonna go ahead and take it for a drive. We're gonna go check it out. And we're gonna see, we're gonna take the same route I took yesterday. I rode that route twice and I got knocking both times. And we'll ride that route right now. If we get knocking, we'll know that it's something else. But if we don't get any knocking, we can say it's that solenoid. So let me get everything together here. We'll go for a ride. All right, guys, I got y'all pointed down here at the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and fire the car up here. And oil pressure looks good right there. Charging fine. Whenever everything starts out good. So let me go ahead and pull up the data right quick so you can see what I was saying about the knock real quick. So we go to data. Let's see, the code's still there. Yep, code is still there. Go to data, operational data. All right, so let's see. I think we can see the knock. Yeah, it only got 9 on the knock. See, I told you, it's always just like a little bit of, I'm trying to see, and there's the EGR duty cycle there. So we ain't gonna worry too much about that. So we got, and I want to pay attention to the coolant temperature as well. So it's 9 knocks starting out. Okay, so we're about to, let me go ahead and pull off. And we're gonna drive the same route that I drove yesterday. Hold on, let me get situated here. We're gonna drive the same route that I drove yesterday and see if we see any changes in the knock. And the other idea that I got, if it's not the actual, if it's not anything that I've done, especially with a solenoid, could it be a faulty knock sensor? I'm not entirely for sure. I'm still learning a lot about these cars and learning a lot about everything how this stuff goes. So, all right, may have to adjust you guys. Okay, no, that's good. So you can see there. Okay, knock sensors at 9, still at 9. And don't worry, I'm keeping my eyes on the road. I just got the camera face down and I'll just periodically glance down. So I'm trying to record this in real time in case of you see what I see. Now, what the best case scenario here, if I drive this route and there is no, what I want to say, there's no knock. So I'm gonna drive just about a minute right now, and then I'm gonna cut the camera off so I don't have to create a long, I tell you what, I'll just record a long video and I'll just speed it up until if any knock happens. And but anyway, so far so good with this car. I mean, I've been enjoying having a car. I really love this car. I really love actually old cars. If I had enough space, I would get me several old cars. And in fact, just, I don't know, this was a time when you own these cars, you just felt like a real proud owner of a car, you know? And it's just not more to be said other than that. The days of these cars are gone, but the cars are not gone. As long as if you know how to work on them, or if you just got the money to pay somebody else to do it for you, you can still enjoy it. That's pretty much it for now. And so what I can say is that I didn't experience any knock this soon. So it'll be once we get out on the highway and once the coolant temperature gets probably around or above 200. Today is a little cooler than it was yesterday, but not much more. It's about this ambient outside temperature. That probably should not even make a difference. But if I don't experience any knock, excuse me, then it'll just really tell me that the quality of parts they make now compared to the quality of parts they made back in the 80s, you know, is so much like night and day. I mean, because again, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm being a little optimistic, but I'm really hoping this works. But one thing I can say is this, is that all the things on this car actually still work. Literally, everything. I mean, all the sensors still work. All of the things work just fine. That knock sensor, I'm pretty sure that knock sensor has never been changed in this car. Those things are pretty robust. What else? That EGR valve that I took out initially was busted. Now, I'll tell you something funny. Now, when I first got this car, the EGR valve, the diaphragm was torn and it could not hold a vacuum or anything. But the car didn't do any didn't have any knock. The car didn't throw any codes. So it was almost just like it was deleted. So that's one option I got here if I really had too much problem with this EGR valve. I have to figure out how to delete it, because I think since this here is electronically controlled, I have to sort of quote unquote tune it out of the ECM. So I'll look into that, because if this gives me too much trouble, I could probably delete it for now until I sort something out. Because the problem with wanting this to work is that it might be hard trying to find a solenoid for that purge valve. And in fact, that solenoid I got, I don't even think it's the right one. I think it's a similar one. No, it is the right one. It's the same part number. I actually bought that part off eBay from a vendor in Saudi Arabia. Took me like 2 weeks to get it. And it was charging like $50 shipping, but I contacted him and asked him, and so he ended up gave me a $20 discount. So there's that. So as you can see, we out here on the highway rolling. Everything's doing good. If you look at the, see here, look at the battery voltage, look at the oil pressure, everything looks good. So let's go ahead and set you back down so you can check the knockout. And again, I think there's only about 4 or 5 miles up the road here. So once I go a few more miles, if the knock comes back, it should just come back, because I started feeling it on the way to the store. So let's just wait and see here. Let me give it a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and just speed this part of the video up. All right, guys, I'm coming up to the U-turn real quick, and I'm not sure, because I slow down, what's gonna happen. So let's go ahead and just take a look at the knock sensor here. I don't feel any indication that you're gonna hear some knock, but I'm gonna just see how the engine, since the engine is nice and hot now, and see when I pull off, is it gonna do anything here? That's all what I'm trying to see here. But again, the voltage is looking about right, where it should look. The oil pressure is looking good. And so let's go ahead and pull off here. Okay. No hesitation like I felt yesterday. And let's just wait and see. If I make it all the way back to the house and there's no knock else, happen, that'll be amazing. So there you have it. Oil pressure looking good. So yesterday, their oil pressure was way over there, almost touched it. Was you can't really tell by the angle of it, but it was kind of like borderline right on the orange and blue. So that's what you just saw. I don't want to put that down. It's about normal, or what you should see at idle in my car once you heat the car, which is about anywhere between 15 to 20 PSI. That's approximate. I don't know what it would be, but just if you go by the gauge, that's what it approximately is. And when you're going, 2,000 RPMs and plus, it should be around, 40, 45, 50, whatever. All right. And yeah, it's not really that bad at all. I mean, from what I can tell, let's see here, no knocking. no anything. But when we pull off, you never know. Once it get heat soaked a little bit, since you see the temperature right here. But again, that temperature will fluctuate. It might not sometimes go up to about 210 and it'll drop back, which is normal because I got a 195 degree thermostat, and that obviously you mean it just begins to open at 195. That doesn't mean it's fully open. At least that's my guess. All right. Yep, everything's still looking good. Oil pressure, temperature, charging. That doesn't feel like, it just doesn't feel like it did yesterday. But let's just, I know I'm optimistic, but let's just go ahead and finish this ride out. All right, guys, I'm almost back home, and for these next, it's about another 1.5 miles or so, or 2 miles maybe, about 1.5 miles. I want to monitor this knock because, again, right here at the end yesterday, I got more knocking right when I came off that exit. And where I went down there and done that U-turn at, the store I went to a locksmith yesterday. I got the keys made for this car. It's just literally like probably 1/4 mile from there. So that round trip where I made that U-turn at the exit was pretty much the same thing I did yesterday. And in fact, that's what I done on my second trip. I just went up there and made a U-turn. So, so far, this is crazy. If this knock hasn't moved by now, I suspect it's not gonna move. And a 38-year-old part, because I bet money that thing has never been changed, which is common on cars like this. But also, just in case people don't know, this knock sensor is it counts up to 255 and then starts over. So I think it just counts knocks, and I don't know if it counts what it perceives as a knock, or can it count multiple knocks? Say if cylinder, I don't know, 4 and 6 knock at the same time or nearly at the same time, will it count it as 1 or 2? I'm not sure. But man, this is amazing. I wish I could have, I don't know why I didn't do it yesterday. I should have took a picture of my scan tool. The first time when I got back, and when I first checked, it was 110 knocks or something. I can't remember the exact number. And then when I went home and cleaned the EGR port, it went up to like 48 or something like that, which again is highly abnormal. Even the 48, again, as you see what's happening, that 9 stays the exact same, it never moves. And that's what's normal in this car. When you first turn it on, you might get, I've even seen it say 0, but that's rare. But normally it's like 5, 6, 8, 10, 12. It just might be a number, but that number will never change. The highest I have ever seen it before yesterday was 19. And again, that was just, again, I believe this knock is what I'd like to call like artificial knock. It's just when the engine is first just cut it on, probably because the motor mount's a little loose and maybe things ain't exactly brand new as it once was. It's gonna feel something and count it as a knock. But again, no hesitation. Oil pressure looks good. Charging is fine, because yesterday my charging was right on 13 on the number on the actual dial there. I'll show you that in a second. And today is where it normally is. It's slightly past, which is, everybody knows that if you got a good battery and you got a good alternator, your car should probably be above 13.5. At least that's always been my experience. 13.5 to about 14.2, 14.3, that seems to be about normal. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. Pulling into the driveway now. Let me go ahead and open up the good old garage here. Let's see here. Should have opened that door, but I got both of my hands tied up, one on the camera, one on the steering wheel. That's crazy, I gotta say. I've done a lot of testing there, but hey, it was worth it in the end. All right, let me put my parking brake down, put it in the park. Now take a look at that. We started out at 9. Let me turn my camera, turn this back up. We started out at 9, came back at 9. This is normal. So that means that this 38-year-old part has outperformed the part I just bought. I actually don't even know how old that part is, but I think the part came out of here as a Delco Remy. That part is an AC Delco. It's an interchangeable number on it. All right, so let's go back out here. Let me hit scan real quick. My check engine light is still on. That's because I haven't dismissed that code. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and dismiss it by pulling the, let's check trouble code, EGR failure. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear that code out. All you gotta do is disconnect the battery or pull the ECM fuse out. I just disconnect the battery because it's just a little easy because I don't like to bend down. But anyway, guys, that has been the, I guess the diagnosis of a bad EGR solenoid, as you can see. I'll soon do a walkthrough on the scan tool here. For G bodies, it's really good. And this thing actually works with Chrysler, Ford, and I'm not even sure, maybe even Toyota and Honda, I'm not even sure, but I got all the connectors in the trunk. We'll take a good detailed look at it. Anyway, guys, this has been a long one. If you stayed here and watched all this, I really appreciate it, and please give me a like for that. Take care, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.